Never over it.
Welcome back, everyone, to Merge Conflict, your weekly developer podcast where my one and only co-host, Frank Kruger, doesn't pay any attention to anything that I do, but I'm one of your co-hosts here, James Montemagno. Frank, how's it going, buddy?
Oh, wonderful, James. I love how my camera always blocks the countdown to the show, so I never know when to come in correctly, and I never know what buttons you're pressing because you like to press buttons. Hi, James. We're back. We're back doing another show. How's it feel?
It feels good. Feels solid, I would say. Solid. It's pretty hot. It's like hot and
Yeah.
spicy. But yeah, it's good. It's happening. You know, things are rocking and rolling. I gotta open the garage up a little bit in the morning, let it cool down, and hope that I'm not sweating ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know, but it's also smoky, so it's kind of all over the place. You know what I mean? The whole Pacific Northwest area.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a little bit smoky here too, and I keep wondering like, "Oh, what is this weird weather?" Oh yeah, the state's on fire. Always forget
Yeah.
that little trick in the summer.
Oops.
I have to do I don't have any of those newfangled air preconditioning or conditioning devices in my house, so I have to do this thing called open the windows, and sometimes in the morning it's cold. But I have to open the windows in the morning or else guess what? In the evening, it's hot. These problems with life, you sometimes you got to think ahead, and I'm not good at that.
Y- Yep. Yeah, and I think that yes, and it's the same. Funnily enough, it's a lot of the country that's having quite a lot of not just heat but also smoke. And my
Yeah.
father-in-law, we like he was like, "Oh, the AQI is like really bad here." And again, because no one plans ahead of time, he didn't have an air purifier for the house, so we door dashed him from Walmart a
Oh,
air purifier that came that
nice.
night. Because I was like, "Oh, he's not going to go out and buy one," so we're just like, "Let's just buy one for him," And then he's
Yeah.
got it. And now it's in his house, and I was like, "Wow, it's so much nicer." The same thing with the AC. But yeah, what would you even do? Like that's the when I lived in Seattle, it was the same thing. It was just like open the windows and then
Yeah.
YOLO it. I mean, like, you could get like a portable one, but what's it gonna do?
As long as you're like one IQ level higher than me and can remember that this heat thing happens every day, it wasn't just a yesterday problem. It's also going to be a today problem if you don't act ahead. But this is my problem. So
Yeah.
most people, I assume, are smarter than me and can actually remember to open the windows in the morning. But no, actually, the air's been getting a little bit cleaner over here. The fires seem to be calming down. Obviously, it's location dependent, but for me, it's clearing up a little bit. Summertime. It's hard to focus on work, and the fires just make it more distracting not to focus on work.
That's true. Yeah, I was up there this week. Actually, I was there. What's
Oh,
that? Thursday. I was there on Tuesday. That's why we didn't record on Tuesday. I was there. Yeah, I was up in the GitHub office, and it was. I looked down the line where you see all the mountains and stuff, and there's all
Mhm.
smoke everywhere. And
Yeah.
we're used to it down here, state below, but everyone up there is like, it's the worst thing in the world. But I just gotta watch it out and see how it goes. But yeah, it's super sad. We were at VS Live last week. I was in Redmond, and someone was asking about the Oregon fires, all this stuff,
Mhm.
and it was really timely because last week was like it was like a pinnacle peak. And I was
Yeah.
sitting there, Kayla and I had just done this work session, and someone was like asking about stuff and they asked me about fires. And then I was like, I kind of like froze up because I like read this article that was like really emotional, right? Like you read what's happening in Spokane, you hear about like
Had a little
Eastern Washington.
PTSD from the article, huh?
I did, and then I started crying, and
Oh,
I was like,
no.
"I'm so
Yeah.
sorry." I was like, I've been more in tune with my emotions in the last
Trigger
several
warning.
years, and like,
Yeah.
it's so close to home, and also like I've lived and breathed it for like the last 6, 7, 8
Yeah.
years, and it's not getting any better. So it's super sad. It's not just us; it's all over the place. So we have friends
Mhm.
over in Europe and things like that too. So it is that I try to watch. I mean, I try to make Heather watch Extrapolations. Did you watch Extrapolations on Apple TV?
No. No. God, it feels like there's a new Apple TV show every month that I haven't seen. I only subscribe to the show when For All Mankind releases new seasons, so
Okay.
I'm a
So
little bit out.
Extrapolations, we might talk about on the pod a long time ago, but it had one season and it was one of the original shows on Apple TV Plus like
Oh,
3 or 4 years ago. So it's OG.
I should remember it. Okay.
And it
Please
is
continue.
it is basically extrapolating out. So like every episode is either it starts in 2037, then it goes to 2047, 2050, it goes like 10. Sometimes
Right.
there's like 1 or 2 years that it's like really back to back because they're
Mhm.
extending an episode. But it's for all intents and purposes, is extrapolating out climate change, big companies,
Ah.
all these
Okay.
things out. It's intense. And when I watched it 3, 4 years ago, I was like, well, that's yeah, that's pretty close to home. That's not too bad. Now it's even more. But yeah, I made Heather watch the first episode. So I was like, I mean, I think it's as a show, it's a solid show.
Hmm.
But it is very close to home. But I still think it's worth. I still think it's worth watching, in my personal opinion.
Well, it's keeping the options open. I personally think any prediction beyond, I mean, 5 years or 10 years is just making things up at some point because it's really hard to predict the future. But it does remind you of possible futures that can occur if we're not all careful. So I appreciate it in that regard. I don't trust anything that's predicting 10 years ahead. Otherwise, I would just be asking you what should I invest in right now with a
Yeah,
guarantee.
totally. Yeah, and it's obviously like a there's a story arc and characters and things like that. It's not just like
Drama.
a it's a
Yeah.
drama. It's a US
Yeah.
drama. Yes. Okay, well, to change the subject, let's get to software development, Frank Kruger. I
Something
talked
less
you t-
drama, I hope. A little decreasing the drama in the world. There's no drama in software development, right?
Okay, well, we did a podcast, you and I.
Once in a while.
What was it, like 2? Let me go to the studio here. And we did a podcast. It was gonna be, let's see, 3 episodes ago, a .NET MAUI AI revolution, and that was
Heck
timely. That was a
yeah.
very, very well viewed episode, which is great. And that was timely because I was going to VS Live doing a session, and I was talking to John Dick, and I was talking to Gerald, and I was talking
Yep.
to the .NET MAUI team, David, and stuff. And I was like, hey, like, I'm doing this stuff. I have a pretty in tune, like, with what y'all have been building, but I wanted to get from, what's coming next. Like, what should I be talking about?
Get
Is my
ahead of the
dad, is,
curve. 10 years
yeah, get,
ahead.
yeah, get ahead.
Extrapolate out for me.
Exactly. Extrapolate out the next month, basically. So they talked about, the work that they're doing in like the runtime. They talked about the work, in the CLI and the new .NET MAUI CLI, the custom agents, the .NET skills, the DevFlow,
Mhm.
that type of stuff that's going on. So go watch that episode because it's really, really fascinating. So if you're doing .NET MAUI development, it's really there. And then you said, man, wouldn't it be great if just like any app, you could have
Yeah,
an agent interact with it, and also you could have some sort of environment there. And John Dick took it a step further
he did.
this week by releasing the mobile iOS and Android Canvas extension for the GitHub Copilot app and a mobile device MCP server that enables your agents the same control that you would have to be able to inspect, view, take screenshots, interact with your application, boot up emulators, see simulators and emulators, and do things like
Mhm.
that. So it's actually independent of any frameworks. This is for any
Yes.
application. You got a Swift app, boom. You got a React Native app, boom. You got a MAUI app, boom. You got an iOS app that's just on at 10, boom. It works.
You're not bearing the lead because I think that is the most important part. DevFlow is super cool, but for people like me, I'm still kind of rocking the native UIs. I still don't
Hmm.
actually have MAUI apps, and that was one thing I was a little sad about. Was those tools didn't really apply to me because I needed to kind of hack things up if I wanted them to work for my kind of apps. But yeah, does he get a bell yet? Like pretty soon he's gonna get a bell for us because he just solved a major problem for me. Through all this agentic coding and all that, I've been a little bit envious, if I might admit, for all the web developers out there because they've been getting first class support with like I don't know, work trees actually working on their apps, Linux environments actually working on their apps, screenshots working on their embedded browsers, built in tapping, and all this stuff. Every time there's a cool new coding agent feature, I'm just like, that's nice. That's nice for the web developers. When are the native app people going to get a break here? Like, could you all focus? We're all using native apps. Hate to break it to you, but all these things are native apps. Could you maybe help the native app developers out there? And John has done it for us. He came through. I knew if I just sat on my butt for a long enough time, someone would do it for me, so I didn't have to do it. This is really cool. So I've been using it mostly through Copilot, the Copilot app, the GUI, I should mention, the native GUI Copilot app. And I do know they have the MCP server, so I haven't actually worked with that directly yet. But this person online, at James something, I can't remember, said,
Uh-huh.
"You gotta go check out this Canvas extension." I'm like, "That's cool." And it was a pretty simple install. I had to install a marketplace. I have no idea what that means, but the
Mhm.
marketplace gave me a plugin. I know we covered it in an episode, still have no idea what that means, but I just
Uh-huh.
kept clicking yes, and eventually nothing happened. I was like, "Oh, okay, well." Then I thought, "What if I talk to this agent? What if I use the chat window to chat?" And I'm like, "Hey, I did a bunch of installing. Can you, like, maybe, like," I put a lot of likes in because I wanted to know I'm hesitant, "make my app, like, run on, like, an iOS simulator or something like that?" And it's like, "Yeah, bro, got you." And all of a sudden, it's like, you got like 50 simulators. I'm like, just pick one. I don't ever. And all of a sudden, a little canvas window, a little iPhone appeared with a little iPhone Chrome, and it started booting up. And it's like, I'm building your app, bro. I'm like, that's cool, bro. Stop calling me bro. But it kept doing that. And all of a sudden, my app appeared with the wrong "What's new" text. I'm like, that's fantastic. And I'm like, that's the wrong "What's new" text. It's like, oh, looking at it. Oh, we need to synchronize this and we got to fix this. So, like, very first thing that appeared on my screen, I realized was like a bug in the app because I hadn't committed a change that I thought I had committed a week ago, which I hadn't. And already I was like fixing bugs with this thing because for all this time, I never had that loop properly closed where
Mm.
the agent spews out some code, actually runs the app, and then is able to look at screenshots and give me feedback. And then it felt like the first properly cooperative experience there. And now I know what it's like to be a web developer. Man, they've had it good for a while.
They have. The multiplayer mode of it all really starts to kick in. That loop that you're talking about is so engaging and really insightful. So let's take a step back here and
Hmm.
let's build up to the Canvas app, because there's going to be more people using other agents,
Yep.
VS Code,
Okay.
CLIs. All this applies to everybody. So it's for everybody.
Sure. I mean,
So
there's a new coding app every week. I think Meta just released something. Like, it's just every
yes,
week there's a new one or
every
two.
week. Well, let me talk about first. You asked, what is a marketplace? What is a plugin? Let me break that down for you. A marketplace, for all intents and purposes, is just a GitHub repo that can have multiple plugins in it or other things that it may expose. So it may say, hey, I'm a marketplace and I have these MCP servers. I have these things. Awesome Copilot, for example, is a marketplace. It has a bunch of prompts and MCP servers and canvases and um, skills all in there, right? It's a way to basically say, I am a marketplace and I'm going to update and version my things. Remember, we talked about
Oh boy.
versioning of things? So these would be
I
distributable.
try not to.
So a good example of this would be, imagine if Frank Krueger, you, like, hey, I need the Proclarum marketplace for myself because I don't want to copy around a bunch of files all over the place. I
Hmm.
want to be able to install them on any machine. So you would publish the Proclarum marketplace and you would list all of the plugins and all of the stuff that are in there. Now, what is a plugin? It's a good thing that you asked. A marketplace is just a registry of things that it's in it. It has a manifest. A plugin, for all intents and purposes, is a way of bundling up a bunch of different stuff into a single package. So, for example, if you wanted to, in this case, um, get the mobile canvas or mobile device plugin, there's going to be multiple things in it. So it's going to have a canvas, an MCP server. It might have an agent file, it might have skills. Instead of having you install things separately, it gives you a bundle of goods in a single plugin fashion. And in fact, funnily enough, the VS Code marketplace, when you build a plugin for VS Code, you build like a extension plugin, it can bundle up MCP servers and native integration. So it's
Yeah.
kind of the same. It's like you're building in a bundle of stuff, and some of that might be a GUI, some of that might be Markdown files, some of that might be an MCP server. It could be a bunch of different things that are built in there. So what you did is you registered reth/mobile canvas GHCP. Bad name for a GitHub repo. I'm sure he'll fix it. It should just be like mobile. I don't know. I don't know what the name is I
Yeah.
was thinking about. I was like, I don't know what the good name for this is.
Agent
Um,
stuff. Agent hyphen stuff.
Mobile device agent
Yeah.
marketplace. I don't know. So when you went to go do that, he exposed one specific plugin, which was mobile device or something like that, which is this bundle that gave you the canvas and gave you the MCP. Now does that make sense? Did I
It
solve it?
does.
Yeah.
It does. I kind of glommed onto that. It's just how many levels of abstraction are we going to get into? I do appreciate that, like, a plugin is a combination of MCP things. That's how I'm going to think of it. But I understand skills are a thing. I'm still skillless. Frank is still
Yes.
skillless. Um, and we should say, in case you don't use Copilot, Canvas is just a way to add user interface stuff to an agentic app.
Wow.
It's Copilot's way to do it.
You just
Was I?
ruined the build up when we were going to get there. We're talking about the
Oh,
MCP
I'm
server
sorry.
first.
Well, you said can't. I mean, I like to define my terms.
Define those terms.
But, yeah, so that makes sense. Plugins are a combination, bundling all those things together, and then a marketplace bundles a bunch of plugins together. I can't wait for what we call a bundle of marketplaces. We'll call it a menagerie, I suppose.
Well, if you go to, for example, github.com/.net/skills, you will see that there is a bunch of stuff in there, including a .clog-plugin, a .cursor-plugin, and then inside the GitHub folder, there's plugins, and then there's the plugins, and then there's like a codex thing. There's a bunch of things, and there was no standard for this up until yesterday. Today? Yesterday. Today?
Really? Cool.
Yep.
Look at me. I'm like on the curve finally. I'm usually
on the curve.
Before 3 years ago, I used to be ahead of the curve. Now I feel like I'm always behind the curve. But I imagine everyone feels a little behind the curve these days.
It's in the box. So just like skills kind of got standardized, MCP got standardized, MCP registry got standardized, all these things. Vercel seems to be leading a lot in this because I think they're kind of like over here, right? They're kind of like this.
We need a third party watchdogging all these people competing for users. Because it's a wild west.
Granted, they also have V0, so they're also competing for some standardization there too. So, but and Anthropic does this too. So all of them do, and we do. So participate. So yeah, agent plugins. It's an open vendor neutral standard for plugins to extend AI agents. So they started off 1.0 and has a bunch of stuff like MCP servers and skills and stuff in there, and it makes it simple. So you just have a plugin.json and it has skills and blah, 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 blah. And then they even made it extensible so certain clients can have certain things that they extend that maybe are unique to them. So, hey, listen, all of us have skills. Don't reinvent the wheel. So they're in this. Mm-hmm. So that's in OpenAI, Microsoft, GitHub, Cursor, AWS, Vercel, AnySphere. So all these are all taking part of this thing. So it's really cool to see. So yeah, so it's been out there, but now there's a standard. So I'm hoping this will be even further adopted, which is great.
Yeah, that's fantastic because I live most of my life in Copilot, but I do use up as many Codex credits as I can too. I like to spread my money out over the universe and use multiple apps and all that kind of stuff. So that's actually good to know. Knowing the industry will probably take them a couple months to catch up. I'm curious to see when everyone gets this kind of stuff implemented. I know Anthropic is especially terrible at all this playing along.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. They weren't on the list, but hopefully soon. That'd be great. So the first thing that's in this mobile device plugin is this MCP server, and it exposed a bunch of agent tools. And these are tools that your agent, when you're chatting with it through Codex or VS Code, through anywhere. So you can install this plugin by command line or through the GUI and whatever thing you're in. VS Code has one, GitHub Copilot app. You can install the plugins anywhere. So once you do that, it'll configure the MCP, and then you could do a bunch of stuff. So funnily enough, it's quite similar to the capabilities of the MAUI DevFlow, just without the MAUI stuff. So it gives you a bunch of discovery, list, get, catalog, select, get selected, display. So you can like list all your, stuff basically. You can create, boot, shut down, restart, reveal, erase, delete emulators and simulators.
Ooh,
you have
scary.
Input, tap, long press, swipe, type text, press key, press button, rotate. It's kind of reminding you of Playwright right now. Media, screenshot, start recording, stop recording, and then recording status. So you do all this. So the normal flow would be list and then select and then read the UDID from the result and then deploy your app to that exact device and then drive it with the input tools. And that would be the thing that you could do. And that sounds what you were kind of having it start to do, like run the app and do the thing. It figured it out.
Yeah, the thing I wanted what I thought I wanted the most when I saw your tweet was the screenshotting, because that's been the big deal. That's the part that's been personally annoying me a lot, because I've been doing the manual thing of screenshotting and then like dragging it into the chat window. So just not having to do that was, I thought, 90% of the problem. But the moment you get that up and running in the canvas that we shall not talk about until you find it an appropriate time,
Thank you.
the first thing you want to do is tap. Like the first thing you want to do is actually start interacting with this thing, because like once you get that screenshot up, you're like, oh, okay, I can properly close this loop. I don't just say, hey, that actually the very first thing I said, hey, what do you see? Like I wanted to know if it could actually like visualize. All these terms don't make any sense in the AI world, but could it see the screenshot? Yes, it could. And the device popped right up, and almost immediately I'm like, let's interact. Like it's very fast. Like you accept what you now have and you want more. That seems to be how this world works. So immediately I wanted that interaction component. And there was one little trick there I realized, but everything you said, yeah, the MCP installed smoothly. I didn't even know it was an MCP. I have no idea what skills were added, any of that. I just started talking to it in natural language, because that's the whole point of these things. You should ideally not have to know any of that garbage.
Yeah.
And I should also say, I was using Sonnet for absolutely no reason. I feel like I choose a different model every time I use Copilot these days. I just wanted to see what, let's call it a medium level model, could do with all this stuff.
Dude,
Basically, I didn't want to pay for Fable at the moment.
I use Terra High. That's my new default.
Terra High.
Terra High. The
I can't
default
keep
is
these
actually
things track. Is Sol better than Terra? Better than Luna?
Yes.
Is it by mass? Is it by volume? Is it by spatial orientation? How do you remember which one's good? I can't. Like Sol in my mind should be the best one, because it's the sun. It's the giver of life.
That is the most expensive and the biggest one. That is the big model.
Okay,
Sol
so
is the big
by
model.
Mass. Okay.
I think by mass. Yeah. So Sol is the big puppy. That's your Opus. That's your Fable model. That's your big model, right? And then you have Terra. That's the medium model. Now, the interesting part is that OpenAI just reduced the cost, I think, of Terra by like 30%, and Luna, which is the small one, by like 70% or something.
Okay.
And I've been using Terra and High.
Terra High.
Terra, yeah, it's super fast. The reasoning, just tick it up a little bit, is really good. Even though you shouldn't test reasoning, but it's good. It's fine. I've just been experimenting a little bit with like, because the default on Anthropic is high and the default on GPT is like medium, but both are pretty solid. And the cost doesn't seem to be too big. And then Baby Luna is like actually really good model, very small, very fast, very cheap. And the thing is that they seem to do the job really well. I really like them. Obviously, Sol really exploratory, but the main thing is that the cost per token is like very low. It's like it's like super low.
Well, that's why I wanted to start on a medium model like Sonnet.
Model.
I don't know how that compares to the OpenAI lineup.
I think that's honestly like more in the Terra space. Yeah.
Because I knew, just knowing how AIs work, this was going to be token heavy. Like every time it clicks, it's going to be sending out tool calls. It's going to be receiving tool calls. It's going to be getting screenshots. Like,
Vision.
You know how many tokens a screenshot is? Like, it's, and they don't even talk about the pricing for images. We don't talk about that. But think about like images get tokenized. I don't know if they're from the same token pool or anything like that, but an image is a set of tokens depending on the resolution they send over and all that kind of stuff. So I specifically didn't want to try a giant model, because ideally I would be doing this kind of loop stuff, UI work stuff, with kind of a dumber model, to be honest, because I'm not asking it to like reinvent physics and implement a simulation engine. I'm just like, hey, is that button red or blue? I think it should be blue. Make the button blue. Like that's what I want out of this kind of closed loop UI kind of stuff. And it really shouldn't take that large of a model. And my experience there is I run a 27 billion parameter model myself. I know what it's capable of. So I'm fine with running a smaller cloud model, because it ought to at least compete with my $27 billion or billion parameter model running on my machine.
Well, so I think what's interesting, so let me tell you about a little bit of the difference of the MAUI DevFlow versus this experience because while they're
Mhm.
similar, they're also vastly different. Because in this experience, this mobile device MCP doesn't know anything about what's in the app, right? It's not connected to the app. So there's no agent running in the app. It's just running the simulator, grabbing that flow and understanding, okay, here's a screenshot. It's in the top left. I could click on that. I could find
Yeah.
something, bring up, do around. It's doing a lot of heavy lifting compared to the Maui DevFlow, which is actually an agent running inside your application connected to your agent. Sorry,
But
let's just make
stop.
this.
Yeah. I no.
There's a web host API running inside your app
Yeah.
talking to your agent.
Yeah.
And the agent is going back and forth talking to it. And the power of that means that because that API is running inside the app that is the running or debugging, it has tons of information. And since it's built into the framework itself of Maui, right, it can like read the visual tree, just like you could read the DOM, like in a web
Mhm.
browser. You can
Yes.
investigate, you get highly optimized, you can, for all intents and purposes, do a lot more. I think there's like 50 calls compared to like maybe 24 tool calls
Yeah.
that the puppy can do. So that means that this one, while is powerful because it works everywhere, does have that slight limitation because it's not running inside of or connected to something running inside your app.
100%. In fact, 1,000,000%. And you feel that difference, honestly.
Yeah.
I've been working on like a little game engine in my ample spare time. And I'm calling it an AI first game engine because I'm building these kind of like talking points, these little API access points right into an MCP server built into the game so that it can actually basically reverse engineer every pixel on the screen. It's like, why is that pixel red? Here are all the reasons that pixel is red and that kind of stuff. And you really need to bake that in and the input system and all that. Because I'll tell you what, the very first time I told it to dismiss my what's new dialogue, oh boy, it missed. It missed
Yeah.
the close button. It's like, I'm tapping, baby. I'm like, yeah, you're tapping in the wrong spot. You got to work on your
Yeah.
scaling code and all that stuff. So what it does do is use the IDB, and this was new to me. Um, what do you interface? I suppose that Meta slash Facebook slash Muse released at some point in time. This was all new to me. I didn't know about this thing at all. But it's kind of a standardized way to talk to Android devices and iOS devices. So this MCP server uses IDB to do the kind of low level communication and the low level talking to all these simulators and such. And the very first thing when I tried tapping, it said, "You don't have IDB installed, buddy." And sadly, it's not in the setup instructions. And they really need to add that to the setup instructions. I
It's
need
in
to email.
requirements. It's in requirements.
No
What
one
you should have
clicks
said is just,
requirements. Who
well,
clicks requirements?
all you got to do, Frank Krueger, all you got to do is say, install it for me. And guess what? It'll install the brew for you.
Kinda.
Yeah,
The
it definitely
brew you
does.
have to trust and, no,
Ah,
there's weird security things with brew, but yeah, fine. It kinda does if you're in a
it
pseudo
kind of does.
environment, etcetera, etcetera. But that was actually kinda cool because I didn't know about this tool, and the way the tool works is basically like most UI testing frameworks these days, is it uses the accessibility identifiers actually to find things on the screen a lot. So there's one of the commands is excuse me, is something like UI find, and the agent will use that a lot. So if you ask it to click a button or something, it'll first try to go from the screenshot, probably miss because its
Mm.
math is a little bit off, and then it will UI find, try to find the element. It'll actually get a set of coordinates from that, and then it'll finally click in the right coordinates. Again, this is a lot of back and forth with tokens, so try to use medium to small models for this kind of stuff. And it's a little bit frustrating because you start to realize the limitations of the accessibility model, at least on iOS. This is where I'm spending all my time. For example, if you have a toolbar in your app, toolbars are hosted in a very weird way these days. And toolbar
Mm.
buttons, even though you can add accessibility identifiers to them, none of those accessibility identifiers come up, at least in iOS 26. I should try 27. But it's a little bit frustrating. So if you ask it to click a very specific button on your toolbar, probably going to have a little bit of difficulty. And I'm working on that, but these are just limitations of that MCP server using that way of accessing the DOM, whatever you want to
Yeah.
call it, the visual tree. Whereas if you have something like DevFlow built for MAUI, where it actually knows the real MAUI tree, it can just say, hey, there's a button there. I don't care about all these iOS shenanigans. Go
Yep.
click that button and that kind of stuff. So you actually do feel the difference, but I can work around that. I can deal with it for now until it gets super frustrating.
Yeah.
It's all Apple's fault. Like we shouldn't be using accessibility to do UI automation. And this is Apple's fault because they started doing this with UI testing. And they're really
XUI test,
conflating
yeah.
two different things. Accessibility is for humans. This stuff is not for, this is for robots to talk to
Yeah.
your app. And it should be a whole different visual tree. It should be a whole different set of identifiers. I get why they did it. We all understand why they did it, but it's wrong. It's just wrong. So we're
Yeah.
limited by it.
In an ideal world, there would be some way for, something else to reach in and say, give me the whole
Actual visual
visual
tree
tree.
like it
Yeah.
used to be. Yeah. I mean, in the early iOS days, it used to be, but Apple moved so much stuff out of process. So because of XPC, multiple processes communicating, but still on screen at the same time, like your file open dialog on Mac is the classic example here. That's running outside of your app's process. And you could have a debugger attached and you could be, bit twiddling going through every byte of memory, and it's not going to be there because it's in a whole
Yeah.
different process that is isolated. So it's funny how quickly those things come up. But I find it funny that just within 10 minutes of using this tool, I was already kind of hitting those things. Like I was saying before, the moment you're given something, you want more. I
Yeah.
thought I'd be happy with just screenshots, but no, now I want 100 frames per second because I have an animated app and it's getting confused with the 1 second refreshes. Screenshots for whatever reason take 1 second, and then it can't click the right toolbar button, and already I'm like, come on, you're so stupid. And I just got this feature 10 minutes ago. It's so funny.
Yeah, it's I would say, yeah, someone wrote a comment back and like, "Oh, why is it so slow?" It's like, well, it's slow because of what we're talking about here, right? This is a good
Yeah.
thing. I think on Android it doesn't even have some of those features and capabilities. And I was running on Windows, Android emulators themselves are slower and clunkier, and getting them in and up and working is fascinating. Now, that being said, like, there is a lot of value, even if it is just taking the screenshot, reading it, validating it, and getting there. And then
Hmm.
additionally, one thing that I think is of interest is maybe when you're building this up is I'm curious if you just start to end up having it self-document success. So for example, remember it's UI automation, right? When you write a
Yeah.
playwright script or you write a cucumber thing or whatever it is, like you're just like, hey, do these things, click these things. So for example, in your app, you'd be like, okay, now here's this accessibility layer, here's this XYZ coordinate, or here's this thing, right? Blah, 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 right? And then you have a skill that's on demand that's like navigate to the settings. And it's like, oh, I know now how to navigate to the settings, and boom, 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 boom. Okay, but have it document itself, right?
Yeah. I haven't gone quite that far, but I'll tell you what, the very first code change I had to do was please go through every UI element and make sure there's an accessibility identifier on it, because I am not playing this game.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
And that
yeah.
was my very first commit, was adding a whole bunch of accessibility identifiers to everything.
Nice.
I just spent all this time complaining about the toolbar, but for the most part, accessibility identifiers work. So and it has a little tool to go search them. So I'm just like, basically spam my code base with accessibility identifiers so you can just target everything more quickly. So
Yeah.
everyone go do that. So
Yeah, go do
I
that.
see
That's a
are improving. Yeah, just go do
Yeah,
that.
totally. And like the frameworks that you're using, if you're using MAUI stuff, or so obviously if you're using MAUI, just use DevFlow. But there's still a lot of actual really good things about this that we'll talk about, even if you are using MAUI DevFlow, because of some of the features that it brings to the table in a visual way. Because I'm a big GUI person, Frank. I don't know if you know, I love a GUI, which is why VS Code and Visual Studio and the app resonate with me a lot compared to the CLI, which I do use the CLI a lot. It just doesn't, it is a TUI, so it is a little bit of a GUI, but it resonates with me a little bit less. I do like it. But the unique thing, and the thing that I really focus on for my video, was the visual aspect inside of the app, which is a canvas that allows you to see, boot, and interact with Android and iOS simulators and emulators. So, what is a canvas? A canvas, for all intents and purposes, is an app that you build that is bidirectional, that lives inside the GitHub Copilot app. It can live across all of your repos, it can live in your project, in your source control, or it can even be for a single session. So that means that you are able to create custom user interface on demand to do just about anything. And it has an API built in that allows you to get access to basically anything in GitHub that you have. So all of your runs, actions, information about yourself, and anything about the session information of the sessions you're running. So everything, basically everything that the Copilot app has access to, you also have access to. And it means that you can send information to this canvas, this surface that pops up as a little web preview inside of the app, inside of a session. And also, it can speak back to the active session. So, for example, you might build a custom Kanban board for an epic that you're doing, and you
Mhm.
can drag things across, and it would say, "Oh, you want to go to in progress," and you would code up, "When I go to on progress, do this thing," and it'll go and it'll talk to the chat, and it'll fire off a session and do a thing, and then the chat can update the canvas. So I have a canvas with my podcast software that's literally this epic tracker, and as I'm assigning it, I have a button that like analyzes the next readily available. It kicks it off. It starts an orchestration. And as that kicks off in those instructions, it says, please update the canvas. So I have a canvas of all of the agents that are working, the status of
Mhm.
what they're working, what they're doing in real time. And if any of them are complete or idle or stuck or anything like that, or need my attention, I have this visual dashboard. So I can orchestrate these agents and boom, it's there. So that one's really cool. I have another one that is an action hub. So I use this one all the time. GitHub Actions. I got like a bajillion GitHub Actions. And
Mhm.
right now, if I want to kick off a GitHub action, I got to go to github.com, find my repo, do a thing, go see all the status. I never want to leave my GUI, right? I want to stay in it.
Yeah.
So I built a custom canvas that shows me everything inside of it. So everything that is in my actions, I can kick them off, I can orchestrate them, see the history, all this stuff. Burke made an awesome one. You're going to love this, a SQLite browser. So
Yeah.
inside
Cool.
of it, you can point it at a database file. It'll show you all your rows, columns. You can query over. It gives you rich IntelliSense inside of it. And I just challenged him because you have access to the Copilot SDK. Say little button that says, "Hey, what do you want to query for?" And then
Yeah.
enter what you want, fire it off, and then boom, it should generate the query for you, right? So
Yeah.
you could build those things on demand, which are so cool. So what John Dick did, and I love this because it's the essence of a great little extension UI that makes sense if you're building mobile apps. It has nothing
Mhm.
to do with AI at all, except for that it lives and breathes inside the Copilot app, right? And
Yeah.
that the agent can speak to it through agent tools. But he basically created a full view that will show you all of your emulators and simulators. You can basically do anything that the agent can do from it. So you can obviously list all of them, boot them, create emulators and simulators, delete them, erase the data. Um, you can take a screenshot, you can do recordings, and then you can tap, interact, rotate, do all these things for you. And it's basically a window inside of it. I don't know how it worked on iOS, but on Android, it booted up the Android emulator, which was like running behind the app. And then it was like viewing into it. Like, I don't know exactly how he did it, some
Okay.
magic, but it
Yeah.
was quite cool, which means as the agent is interacting by calling all these MCP tools, you can see it in real time happening. And that's quite magical inside of it if you want to full screen it. Obviously, you could just run the simulator side by side, but there's something magical about it being there and happening inside of the GUI itself.
Because that's where it belongs. It's not magic. It's an integrated development environment. It all should be integrated. I don't need 60 windows to do. I'm like, we're not going backwards in time. We're trying to go forwards in time.
Yep.
No, it's a fantastic job, and I hope I know Microsoft slash GitHub needs to keep their competitive lead over everyone, but I kind of hope these become vaguely a standard because I do bounce around between the apps and such, and it's such a cool feature that your IDE adapts to you or specifically to the app that you're building. I think this has been a goal for a long time. VS Code has had extensions forever, but every time I went to write an extension, I don't know, it just got weird and very TypeScripty, and I would always give up about an eighth of the way
Mm.
through. Now I'm just like, build me a canvas that does a blah blah blah, and it's like, here you go, and I'm like, well, that's completely wrong, but good try here, and now let's iterate on it a little bit, and it's fun. It's actually fun to build. I have yet to, in the same way that I still lack skills. I lack
Yeah.
canvy. Um, but I know you've generated like 100 canvases. I'm hoping to get there. I've built a few throwaway ones and all that,
Mm.
but what I find really cool is that this plugin marketplace MCP thing also has a UI. Like, of course it should.
Yeah.
This is what I appreciate is I was getting a little bit nervous about these coding agents and the overly simple UIs that they were presenting to us as developers, because
Mm.
the whole TUI thing happened. Like 2025 and 2026 are just sadly going to be the year of the TUI. But a lot of those bad things from the TUIs came into our GUIs because like all they can show is text and a few basic pictures and a few graphs. So what did all our apps become? Text and a few basic pictures. So I appreciate that they're making it easy to build actual GUI stuff into our GUIs. And now that basic thing is okay because we can accentuate it with more advanced GUI kind of stuff. So I'm feeling more optimistic about the future. But what I also appreciate here is I was always a little bit confused on how you actually distribute these canvases. So I'll be actually having fun looking at how the sausage is made a tiny bit and seeing how he packaged all this up together. And I assume it's not rocket science. So I'm excited to see how I can start building my own little universal canvases that I can make sure are installed on all my machines.
Yeah, I'm super interested too. I guess I I think it's just in there. Yeah, be very, very interested to see. I'm just looking at his plugin. He has a package.json, but I wonder if he has like a plugin.json. I'm not sure. But whatever he did, I'll just point my agent at this and be like, go do this. Pretty
Yeah.
much. Oh, yeah. So he has a marketplace and then he has a plugin in it. And the
Uh-huh.
plugin has the canvas and it has
Okay.
keywords. Okay, let me see what's in the plugin.json. Plugin.json has some keywords and then it has extensions,
Okay.
extensions folder, MCP
Sure.
servers, .mcp.json file. So it's just like 4 lines of
Not
code to
rocket
like
science. Yeah.
point. So, because I think what happens is that it clones the repo locally and then it exposes
Ah,
the stuff to it, right?
that
The
makes
MCP
sense.
server isn't distributed with your app, but the configuration for the MCP server is.
Oh, okay. It's all quite a mystery on what's getting
Yeah, it's quite a
installed and
mystery.
not installed, to be honest.
But like you said, the nice thing is that if he updates this, which he just
Mhm.
released this yesterday, and I know he's already showed me some major enhancements that I think solve
Cool.
some of your problems, just for speed and visibility. So, and once people use it, and I'm sure once you complain to John Dick about it, that he will go and fix it. But he's actively revving on it, and tons of
Yeah.
PRs coming in too. He has a pull request, by the way, because this is open source, so I can see it, which is
Yeah.
add VS Code to mobile device support,
There we go.
which is to put, for all intents and purposes, the GUI inside of VS Code.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very cool. I mean, honestly, he did a service to the entire mobile community here. This isn't him just contributing to MAUI and .NET people. Like, as you said in the very beginning, this is completely usable if you're a Kotlin developer or a Swift developer. And that's what I like. It's kind of a unified tool he basically built here,
Yeah,
where no matter what technology I'm using, I can use the same tool. So I can get good at this tool. I can know the little tricks to play with it and all that kind of stuff. I think that's the biggest concern that I have with the Wild West that we're in with this plethora of tools that we have is I'm
mm.
not getting really good at any one of them.
Mm.
I'm getting mediocre at a bunch of them, and I don't like that. I always pride myself on being a bit of a power user. So I like to get a tool that I can really obsess over and get to know the nitty gritty and become really good at. And I feel like this thing, even though it's just a canvas, just an MCP server, this is one worth getting good at and making
Yeah,
sure that my code adapts well to, because this is closing the loop. This is a very important part of future development.
yeah. No, I totally agree with you. No, it's super good, and I'm excited that it exists, that it's in there, and I'm excited to use it more and more and more because, like you said, I do this in the box, with websites all the time, no matter what you're building. Like there's
Mhm.
just a browser you can do it and it can see it and it's easy. And now we have this capability and it'll just continue to improve. And I know John's not the only one working on it. I've seen a bunch of other people on Twitter doing
Yeah,
stuff. So I'm hoping that there becomes like this, open source rally
sure.
behind these agent mobile tools. I think John did a really banger of a job and to integrate it into these other tools that we're using, which is so cool to see. So yeah, be super fascinated to see how it continues to grow and can and leverage. So yeah, give it a spin and give John the feedback. Open an issue
Yeah.
up. That's the biggest thing you can do. He literally, like, honestly, in the morning, he was like, "Hey, check this out. Do you think this is cool?" And I was like, "I'm gonna do a video on this." And then, like, I came back 3 hours later. I was like, "I did a video on it. How is it?" He's like, "This is amazing." He's like, "I'm publishing it," and I was like, "I'm publishing it. Let's go." So it was like a really fun
Yeah,
collaboration on it in general, and I just it was fun. So it's on the LinkedIn, on the Twitter, on the YouTubes and stuff. I'll put a link in the show notes if you want a kind of guided walkthrough. But it really is just that easy to get up and running and experimenting with this thing, and just ask the agent to do the thing. I love that. That's kind of my new thing. I was doing this workshop, and we were going through the GitHub Copilot app. So we did the CLI, the Copilot app VS 2026, and then we did the SDK. And we were in the app, and one of the starts of it was like fork this repo and then like clone yours and do this. And the one person like made a mistake and like cloned the original one and not the fork.
yeah,
So when they went to like
okay.
do merging in, it wouldn't let
Oh
them.
boy.
Obviously, they didn't have permission. So I said, "Oh, okay, hold on, hold on, hold on." I said, "This is easy. Watch this." And I hit the microphone button. I was like, "Hey, can you just go and like create, a repository, fork off of this one. And what I want you to do is like replicate all the commits that I have in this session in that one and then open a new pull request on that one." It's all like, "Yeah, I can do that." And like 1 minute later, it was like done.
It's like, unlike you, I know how to use Git.
Exactly. Exactly. Oops. It's true. It's true. It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. Yeah. It's pretty funny.
And it's
Yeah.
funny, and it's not like I'm excited for this for the UI development parts, because again, like that's the most important part of these apps. But I hope to try other little things. Like I have a help file and documentation that is years out of date from a screenshot perspective. And
Mm,
I've been really holding off on doing screenshots. I'm hoping I can just use this thing to be like, hey, can we just walk through the existing help file and go get some new screenshots? Because they are
yeah.
old, buddy. So
Yeah.
let's work on this together. So I'm excited. And it's definitely not a feature built into this one, but because this is a combination of lots of pieces, I'm hoping to be able to do those kinds of tricks.
And the one thing that I didn't actually see if he could do, because only iOS and Android, maybe you can pull request it, is like, I wonder if he can do like Mac and Windows applications too. There shouldn't be anything
Oh,
really
there's no
stopping
reason
him.
not to, other than it looks like he's kind of baked into this IDB
B,
tool chain.
yeah.
So an IDB does not support Mac. So it just
Oh,
depends on
if
how
he can get there.
factored his code is.
Yeah, that makes sense. That'd be really fascinating because then you could really have it walk
Yeah,
through. I was thinking about
100%
this
though.
recently with some workshops. I'm like, oh, you could go through the workshop and take screenshots like of the thing as you're going, and have it drive it. And then, oh, you could snip it, like it could just snip it
Yeah,
itself, right? So,
yeah,
that's been interesting to kind of like experiment. Like, how far can you push it? And I think
sure.
I tell folks, every time. It's like, oh, if it didn't do it last week, try it again this week, right? Like there might be some new update, there's some
Yeah.
new plugin that does the thing. So give it a
And this
go.
isn't
But
the end of the road. Like we both
no,
said, like DevFlow is actually closer. That's a better road to be on, where our frameworks have integrated agentic aspects to them,
yeah,
where they expose more features to the agent. Because honestly, it's really silly to be taking a screenshot of an app screen and going and looking for the text okay, and
yeah.
then reverse engineering the screen coordinate of that and then sending a tap. That's ridiculous. Like,
I think what John needs to do is probably make like a Swift library and then a like Kotlin
yeah,
library. And then he can
yeah.
like make wrappers on top of all of that for the different frameworks, however far he
Mhm.
wants to go. So like a .NET one and then whatever. So
Sure.
it's like a generic DevFlow agent that is then
Right.
exposing whatever is exposing through
Yeah.
that
So like a
little,
screenshot should be a visual tree. It should be a
yeah.
JSON
Yep.
basically to start with. But you need something like this to learn that lesson. Like we you have to have this and play with it, find out what the weak spots are, what the good spots are, and then you can go develop that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're developing a tool without any guidance or anything.
Yep.
This is an important first step. So I'm happy to use this one for a while.
That's cool. All right. Well, that's going
Yep.
to do it. Check it out. I'll put links in the show notes wherever you're watching this, whether it's on YouTube or you're listening to it on your favorite podcast application. Don't forget to like, subscribe on YouTube if you're brand new. We're about to bust over the 1,000 marker over there, which is
Woohoo.
really good. So share that with a
We're so
friend. We're at
close. Please tell your friends. Yes, we're so close. I don't even care
927.
how many subscribers we have, but I hate being close to a,
We're
a little
close.
hurdle to get over. I
It's the
like getting over
goal.
hurdles.
We're ramping up on it. Go do that. And of course, go ahead and I don't know, do all the things like subscribe
Sure.
and find it on your favorite podcast app. All right. That's going to do for the merge conflict. So until next time, I'm James Montemagno.
And I'm Frank Krueger. Thanks for watching and listening.
Peace.